Beards and Flicks, baby.
Okay, guys, we are back. Beers and Flicks. My name is Brad Johnson. I'm joined, as always, with my buddy Mikey D. Mike on the mic.
Money Mike, Icy Mike.
We gonna do this every time?
Yes. And I gave myself a new nickname.
You hold on.
I know.
We said you couldn't do that.
I know, but I think this one is warranted, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
So, because I have so many nicknames,
Yeah.
I'm like the Justice League of nicknames because I have like 6 or 7.
You have tons of them.
So, Justice League.
Oh, that's it.
That's it. Short,
right.
sweet, to the point.
Well, cool. We are back, and today we're talking about a movie that you introduced me to. Never seen it, never heard of it. I love Christmas movies. We are in the Christmas movie season. The next several episodes, we're going to talk about our Christmas movies.
Right.
Okay. We're kicking that off today with a movie called This Christmas.
Yep.
So tell us about it.
So, this is a movie that it's been out 13 years. So, it came out in 2007, right before Thanksgiving, like a lot of Christmas movies do,
Yep.
to kind of get you prepared for the holiday season.
In the spirit.
Right. And this movie, it's important to me for a number of reasons. I mean, obviously, the first thing that stands out is it's an all-black cast. The writer, director were all black. Producer was black. And I saw this with my sister, and then, not brother-in-law, they weren't married yet. They were dating. And I think he actually came into town and stayed with us for Thanksgiving. Cool. And he's from New Orleans, so his family's in New Orleans. And at the time, they were in school, so they met in college and in Oklahoma. Okay. And they drove down, and my parents said, yeah, you can stay with us. Different beds, obviously. You know how that goes. And so this movie was out, and so we all went and saw it.
Oh, so you saw this in a theater?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we saw it in a theater like
Nice.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah. Okay.
And we haven't seen it since, but it's a movie that we always talk about, like when it's close to Thanksgiving and Christmas. We talk about, yo, remember when we saw This Christmas?
Yeah.
We never can find it anywhere. Like none of the DSP streaming services had it.
Yeah.
And then recently I saw it the other day, scrolling through Netflix to see what's out now.
Yep.
And it's one of the first things that pops up on my search. And I immediately text my sister and brother-in-law in a group chat. I said, guess what's on Netflix? We just talked about it. And so I said, we're going to cover this on the pod. And then I texted you and I said, hey, I'm changing my picks.
Yeah, because you had another movie. We were going to talk about another movie, and you chose this one.
I chose this one instead as a replacement. And you were like, cool. And I watched it.
This whole relationship that we have, you introduced me to movies, I introduced you to movies. For a little while when we got going on this podcast, it kind of felt heavy-handed on my end that I was introducing you to movies, and I'm glad that you have kind of picked up the reins here in the last few episodes because, Four Brothers was your choice.
Right.
Which I'm so happy because I went back and watched that. Again, with this movie, I didn't completely love this movie.
Yeah, no, you know what? I'm the same way.
Yeah, but it is good, and it's got its place in the echelon of Christmas movies.
I agree. Like it belongs on that list of movies that are played every holiday season with the Home Alones, the Elves, the Christmas Vacations, all those movies. I think this movie should also be aired as well in that mix.
I agree, and it was cool for me to see the culture that I'm not used to.
Right.
And their traditions and what they do. It was really fun for me to watch this. Okay, so let's talk about the cinematic atmosphere of 2007.
Okay.
Ratatouille.
Oh yeah, the French rat.
Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Have you watched any of those movies?
I've seen them all except for the first one, ironically enough.
The first one I don't return to that much, but I love those movies.
The Order of the Phoenix is probably my favorite one.
I think The Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite.
My second best, yeah.
Cool. The Golden Compass. A lot of controversy about that movie.
Okay, I remember there was controversy. I don't remember why. Can you tell me why?
Daniel Craig,
Nicole Kidman, and a big polar bear.
The controversy was brought on by the conservative parents, thinking that it was too adult.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's mainly a kids movie.
Yeah.
It was a good movie.
I saw it in the theaters.
I enjoyed it.
I remember somebody told me, I won't say who told me this, but he was against it because the overall, I guess, idea of that film was that they were trying to kill God. And I said, I didn't get that from anything about this movie.
That was one of the big points.
That's true?
Yeah. I don't know that that's true, but that was one of the big points of the conservative families that were like, let's ban this movie or whatever. I was like, whatever, this is stupid. Knocked Up.
That's a classic movie,
Movie. Enchanted.
Yeah.
Which is the Amy Adams like fairy tale movie.
James Marsden, correct? Yeah.
Yep. Crazy fact, okay?
Okay.
When I was married, we had a nanny watching our son while we were at work.
Was it Nanny McPhee?
Shut up. The girl, she was a young girl that was like recommended to us, and we chose to use her as our babysitter nanny.
Yeah.
Her cousin was James Marsden.
You have so many stories.
It's crazy.
That are linked to celebrities.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I like him, by the way. He's a really good actor.
Yeah, he is. Cyclops.
I Am Legend. 2007.
Yeah, I love
Will
that movie.
Smith. What a great movie.
Yeah.
Francis Lawrence directed it. You know what else he directed that we just talked about yesterday? Constantine.
Oh, great segue.
So Constantine 2,
Yes.
after Constantine came out in 2005, is looking like it's going to get a sequel.
Finally.
So the article that I sent you was from the guy who played Lucifer. He's a famous Russian or German or something actor. And he's the one that said that him and Francis Lawrence have been talking about a sequel.
I'm down. I waited 15 years for this.
If they don't go in the direction of the Shia LaBeouf spinoff thing, because that movie ends with Shia LaBeouf flying off the grave. He's dead.
Yeah.
But he's like an angel now.
Yeah.
Or something. That if they don't use that in the sequel, I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah.
All right. Superbad. Right?
All I can do is laugh when I hear that name.
Spider-Man 3, the worst of this Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
1000% the worst.
B movie, which is a pretty big movie.
I love B movie.
Yeah, it's Seinfeld driven.
I love
movie.
Seinfeld.
The third Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
The worst of the three.
At World's End, you think it's the worst?
I think so.
Man, I
that
enjoyed
movie
it.
felt longer than everything.
I enjoyed all those first three movies.
I have all three.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy it as much
The
as the
Bourne
first two.
Ultimatum.
That's the third one.
Yep.
Again, the worst of the three.
Not as good.
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men. Really good. You saw it, right?
Yeah, I own it. I saw it in the theater and I own it. Yeah.
Yep. Juno. You've seen that?
I love Juno.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Denzel Washington movies came out this year.
Don't tell me. If it's 07, let me think if I can know. If I can figure this out. Oh, I know what it is.
What is it?
He goes back in time, right?
What?
Deja Vu?
No.
Oh, tell me.
American Gangster.
Oh, way better than Deja Vu. Yeah.
Such a good movie. Ocean's 13, which is not my favorite of the Ocean's trilogy.
No, but I'm glad they took it back to Vegas.
Yep.
And I love that movie because of that.
Transformers, the first movie came out in 2007.
Oh, the first Transformers?
Which was groundbreaking.
Man, yeah.
No pun intended. Because they exploded a lot of things because Michael Bay. Sweeney Todd.
Demon Barber, Fleet Street.
Disturbia, another Shia LaBeouf movie.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite movies too.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a remake or a reboot.
It's a retelling of the Jimmy Stewart Hitchcock film.
Yes.
The, Rear Window.
Ghost Rider.
The first one with Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage.
The best thing about that was Eva Mendes, and we can move on.
That's it. Live Free or Die Hard.
I actually
The
liked
one
that
with
movie.
Justin Long.
Yeah.
Really good movie.
I loved it.
I saw it when it came out in the theaters on July 4th with my best friend.
Same.
The Simpsons movie.
I saw that.
Surf's Up. A lot of Shia LaBeouf
That's crazy.
vehicles that year. Surf's Up is one of the best animated movies
I agree.
I've ever seen.
I'm with you on that.
Really good. National Treasure, another Nicolas Cage movie, which
I
is
like that
actually
one
really
too.
good.
Yeah.
Jerry Bruckheimer. Yeah. So, oh God, we got to talk about this movie. In fact, we have to do a podcast about this movie.
Okay.
3:10 to Yuma.
Oh my gosh.
One of the
that movie's
best
incredible.
modern westerns
I
I've
agree.
ever seen. Christian Bale, powerhouse. Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
I don't have a Coke, but I can give you lines of Coke if you'd like.
A bunch more movies came out this year
Didn't
that
get that one.
weren't really. I'm sorry. I totally went over that comment.
Yeah, you said buy me a Coke. I said I don't have a Coke, but I can give you lines of Coke.
Ooh, let's do cocaine.
Yes.
Tonight. Be my first time. Some more movies. Zodiac, which is a really big movie.
David Fincher.
RDJ.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, really good. 28 Weeks Later. Like, there's a bunch of really good movies that came out this year.
Yeah.
30 Days of Night. There Will Be Blood.
A lot of violence in 2007.
Bro, what
I've
was
noticed.
going on that year? Yeah. The Mist.
Ooh.
The horror movie. I showed that to Remy the other day, and he loved it.
For real?
It was during quarantine, and I was like, "Hey, there's this movie. I don't think You know what? He didn't like it. We didn't finish it. He wanted to turn it off.
I was gonna say, did he get
was
to the
interested.
end?
He likes scary things. He likes the idea of scary things, but once we get into it, he's like, no, I don't want to do this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you ever watch any of the Hostel movies?
I've seen them all, man.
So there's Hostel Part 2 came out this year.
We'll never cover those, by the way.
Shooter.
Oh, with Mark Wahlberg.
Wahlberg. Yeah, such a good movie. Hot Fuzz. Bro, 2007 was a powerhouse.
That was a killer
really
year, man. Yeah.
Good movies.
Wait, I shouldn't say killer year in 2020. That's not. But yeah, 2007 was a great year for movies.
Well, let's dive in because, let's talk about the director. He's also the producer and the writer.
Yeah, Preston Whitmore II.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was then.
Me either.
I mean, this was 13 years ago. But in doing some of the research for the film for this, I noticed, like you said, he's the writer, producer, and the director. And I think a lot of all black cast in movies, usually the writer is also the director and the producer.
Right.
They kind of wear like the three top tier hats of this whole production. And this guy didn't really do a lot. Nothing that was noteworthy.
Outside of this film.
Outside of this was pretty much it, yeah.
He wrote Fled, which is a pretty good action movie with Lawrence Fishburne and Stephen Baldwin.
Stephen Baldwin, the forgotten Baldwin
like a
brother.
late 90s, maybe mid to late 90s action movie.
So that would be the only other one that I've heard. I've heard of that, I never saw it.
Right.
So.
And then I don't think he's done much since this movie, maybe one more movie as a director.
Which is impressive because when you look at the cast of this movie, it's like,
it's
how did this guy who hasn't done very much get these actors who have done a lot, over their career?
Including Mekhi Phifer, who is one of the producers, as well as Delroy Lindo.
I saw that watching the end credits of the movie. Yeah, because I didn't know that before.
Now, Delroy, I'm a fan of.
Same.
I immediately recognized him and saw him and remembered he was in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yes.
He was in a bunch of other movies that were really good. And Idris Elba.
Yes.
Who I'm a fan of also.
He's my favorite character in this movie.
He's in the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, he opens.
Playing a saxophone.
Right.
And then we don't see him for a little bit. Which it was interesting how, now the whole opening credit scene was very like TV movie-esque.
It was, right?
Right? It didn't really seem like it was a Hollywood release. And the whole kind of feel is that way as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's a big budget movie. I don't know what the budget was. Did you look?
Well, I mean, the budget was only $13 million.
So $13 million.
And that's why, but I mean, it made, almost 3 times as much the budget. It made almost $50 million.
Do you think it's because of the star power?
I do.
Yep.
I do.
Because there's some major stars. Let's go through them. Chris Brown.
Yeah, Chris Brown. I think this
Before
is
Muscles.
his first. Yeah. This is a pre-Rihanna beating.
Everything. Like, this is pretty early on in his career.
Yeah. He hadn't done very much even as a musician yet. And he actually did win like a small award of the smaller award show for best up and coming actor.
His role was good.
Yeah.
He seemed kind of meek, and mild mannered.
He did.
Kind of mousy a little bit.
Right. Well, his nickname in the film is Baby. You can tell he's the youngest in the family.
Absolutely, and he's, he just kind of, his role was important.
Right.
We'll get to that later. So who else? What else we got?
So we talked about Delroy Lindo. We talked about Loretta Devine, who plays my dear in this movie.
She's great.
I love her.
So I watched Grey's for a long time.
Okay.
With my ex-wife, and she is a pretty predominantly big role in that show.
Okay.
There's the hospital administrator or something. She's his wife.
Oh.
And they have a pretty big relationship issues.
Right.
In that show. And she basically plays the same kind of role in this movie.
Yeah. I think she plays that role often.
Very soft-spoken.
Because she's so good at it.
She is great at it. She's so soft-spoken. She's the matriarch of the family.
Yeah.
She's super important to everybody in this movie.
To me, she's the most believable character in it.
I agree.
And I think it's important because, like you said, she's the matriarch. She's the head of this household.
Yep.
That tries to hold everybody together. So her role has to be the most believable.
She seems firm, yet soft.
You could tell that there's just something that still kind of bothers her. She hasn't quite dealt with yet.
Yes.
And we get to that, as the film progresses.
Right.
We have these other characters coming in for the holiday. I think it's the first time Idris Elba's character's been home for Christmas in 4 years.
He's been gone
say.
for a long time. Yeah.
Supposedly on the road, touring.
Yeah, doing music stuff. There's some other stuff he's been doing that.
Yeah.
We don't totally know all about his backstory. There's a little bit of stuff, a little bit of information released as we're watching this, we learn about him.
Right.
You know, he's got these 2 guys after him. He's got this pretty large amount of sum of money that he owes them. We don't know why.
Right.
There's never an explanation of what.
That is true.
Of what caused that large amount of money to rack up, right? Delroy Lindo plays a character that is pretty new in the family. Not everybody kind of knows him that well.
Yeah.
They don't even know that he's, you know,
staying at the house
because she, like in the very beginning, she's telling him to put your stuff in the garage before you go. Don't forget. Or he's got like this tub of clothes and bathroom stuff.
Right.
You know, that he hides in the garage.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
I didn't even think that. I didn't catch that. But yeah, it's like he is kind of hiding, which is interesting because we find out later his character, he's a deacon.
Yeah.
Because I think they discussed that at one of the dinner table scenes. Yep. And somebody asked, "Oh, so you're the minister?" And they say, "No, he's a deacon."
Yeah.
So it's just interesting.
So religion is big in this family.
Absolutely.
The going to church is big.
Right.
Family is big.
True.
Right. You get all this pretty early on. These are pretty big. Not red flags, but what do you call it? Just tent poles, I guess.
It's tent poles, and it's also very accurate for like black families.
Exactly.
They're really big into religion.
Yep.
And just being together, eating together, and just having traditions.
So does this speak to your family?
Absolutely.
So these kind of things you guys did?
We still do to this day.
Traditionally, that's awesome.
We don't really do like church Christmas morning or anything like that, but I was raised very religious, very conservative, and
pray before every meal and
that kind of thing. And we do that for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, because we'll all get together. Now our family isn't as big as this family's is.
Yep.
But we'd always get together for the holiday, and my mom will say, "Come, everybody, come together. We'll pray over the food and bless the food," that kind of thing. So yeah.
So is your mom kind of like Madeir?
She is. She's a little more laid back and subdued compared to my dear, but she doesn't have as much of the issues as this character does. Like my mom doesn't. She kind of has everything pretty much well together.
So what's the dynamic of this family?
You can tell they love each other, but you can tell they don't spend a lot of time together because as the film goes on and they kind of settle into their surroundings of being together again, these little bitty things start to come up, these little bitty issues. You've got Regina King's character who shows up, and it's obvious there's an issue with her and her husband and their marriage. It's not quite this happy marriage that you think it is in the beginning.
Right.
And you also have another character who comes in, Kelly, played by Cheryl Leal, who's single, successful, and constantly is hounded about when are you going to find a man and settle down. And she keeps saying, "Oh, I'm focused on my career. I don't need a man, but I can get it whenever I want." And so there's a lot of different dynamics within these family members. Now, they all get along well enough to kind of get through the holiday, but you can tell that there's just things that are unresolved within the family and within each of their own lives. And so my dear owns a laundromat business, and every, I guess, holiday season, she hands out their portions of the checks, I guess.
Which is what my grandmother did.
Really?
She didn't own a laundromat, but every Christmas, so everybody in the family got an envelope from Grandma when she was alive, and it would be cash.
Really?
Yep. Same kind of thing. So that was, I picked up on that, and that made me remember.
Was it substantial?
For every age, there was a bracket. There was like a denomination that all of them got.
Gotcha.
So like, as you got older, the more money you got.
Right.
So that was, I love that little bit that she was doing.
Now, when you started getting that money, did you save it or did you spend it? What happened to your portion?
Pretty much spent it as quick as possible.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I would be the same.
I mean, I can't hold on to money still to this day.
Neither can I.
Yeah.
That's why I have bill collectors call me every day.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I order waiter like every day. I don't have any groceries in my house. I order waiter or favor like every week.
That's insane. So you're the guy that you open your fridge, it's just condiments, ketchup, mustard.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of that even.
Spoiled milk in there, really?
It's old. Yeah, it's spoiled. Probably spoiled milk. Maybe like one egg. Very little in there.
Wow.
Leftovers from some other stuff.
Which is insane to me because for a while you were keeping up with your IG page where you cook food.
Man, I
haven't seen that in a while.
I know. In fact, I forgot my login because I had on my own Instagram account it's called Kinda Fat Brad.
Yeah.
And I would just make food and just post food on there.
Another character in this movie, I I wouldn't say that he's not the youngest. We know Chris Brown's character, Baby, is the youngest.
Right.
I think the second youngest is the military son, Claude, who comes home. He's got his uniform on.
Yep.
We find out throughout the film that he's actually AWOL.
Yep.
So his unit didn't give him permission to leave for the holiday.
There's a lot of reveals in this movie.
Which I really love.
A lot of like, oh, here's another big part of the script right here. You know?
It's like you keep getting reveals pretty much up until the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And most of the time it's all kind of, there's like a setup, and in the middle of the film you deal with it, and then the third act is resolution. For
instance, Chris Brown's character, nobody knows he can sing. And he has an incredible voice. Yeah. Right?
I have a problem with that scene though. So they obviously
at the club?
Yeah, so they go to a club, which man is 2020. What are clubs in 2020?
Right. Nobody going to clubs.
And this is obviously a hip hop club. They walk in, I mean, it's popping in there. It looks like everyone's having a blast. And they stop the DJ stop playing the music, no one's dancing, and they do an open mic to let him sing.
Yeah.
Like
it's like a slow jam too.
Yeah, it was, But I love the reaction from all the siblings' faces because they're like, "Oh, I didn't know he could sing."
They had no idea, and it was clearly represented by their facial expressions and their actions. Really cool. Like that was interesting.
Yeah. So this is obviously like his, I think, still on the rise, like in his career in real life.
Yeah.
Let me just kind of exploit the talent, who I really am, in this movie. Right. Actors do that, like Ed Helms from The Office. He has to sing in everything he's in, which kind of gets annoying to me after a while, but I get it.
So the other reveals that we encounter in this movie as we go along this journey, with the character you just mentioned, the second youngest, the military guy, Claude. Why is he AWOL?
Well, he's AWOL because he requested to be off for the holiday season. Yeah. And they said no. And that's only the first part of the story. We get that, early on.
We think that's the reason. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, before they go to the club scene, he's like secretly in the corner of the house in a couple of scenes talking to someone on the phone. Yeah. And we think it's just like, honestly, I hadn't seen it in so long. I thought, oh, the character's gay. Because I hadn't seen it in so long, I forgot.
Interesting. Yeah.
And he's just trying to keep that from his family. And it's either that or, a wife.
Well, it's a secret that's kind of like that.
Yeah, it is.
Because he's married.
That's the big secret.
To a white woman, which is, I like how they handled this.
Did you?
I did.
Okay.
It was a shock to find out that she was white.
Right.
But they were pretty accepting of her. Yeah. Pretty quickly.
Which I think also is representative of black people in real life. We are a very accepting culture, which is odd because we're always the ones that are misrepresented, mistreated.
Not accepted.
Yeah, exactly. But we're so accepting.
Right.
So I agree with you. I like the way that reveal was handled. But I didn't like how it was portrayed in the film because he goes to the club and his siblings basically kind of say, oh, we want to go too, we want to go out too. Right. And he wasn't supposed to take them, but they basically bombarded their way on this trip. And so you see her at the bar, and these others two black guys are like kind of accosting her a little bit.
Hitting on her,
Yeah, and he shows up, and they're like, oh, okay, you got it, bro. Keep it black. Yeah. Which is also a real thing, too, which is ridiculous. But I didn't know that was his wife. You don't know that's his wife then. You just think, oh, that's the girl he's with.
Yeah. Or dating or whatever. Yeah.
And then he kind of shoos her away. Yeah. Because she's like, well, did you tell your family yet? And he's like, no, I didn't tell her. I didn't tell anybody yet, da-da-da. Right. He's like, I promise I'm going to tell him later. I promise. Right. And kind of like make sure his family's not watching and kind of gives her like a quick kiss and shoos her away. I didn't like that because I'm thinking, that's your wife. Maybe if it was just some girl you were dating and you were close to and working towards that, but you can't just shoo off your wife. Right. If I was her, I wanted more pushback.
Plus, she's pregnant.
And she's pregnant. Right. So there was 3 reveals for his character, which I liked. It's like a 3-tier reveal.
I noticed when she was at the club that she wasn't drinking. And it was a while before we find out that she's pregnant.
Yeah. So Idris Elba's character, like I said, he's my favorite character in this movie.
Is he?
Yeah, because you don't know much about him.
He's pretty mysterious.
And he's one of the characters that, there's other characters in this film you don't know much about. Yeah. But you don't really need to. Yeah. It's kind of self-explanatory. Uh-huh. But with this guy, like you said, there's a lot of mystery and intrigue behind.
You want to know more.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like you said, the opening scene, he's on stage playing the sax, and he goes to the bar after the song and sees 2 guys walk in, and he kind of sees them out of the corner of his eye, but doesn't acknowledge them. But you can tell there's some tension automatically. Yep. and he grabs a big bottle, hits the guy over the head,
smashes him in the head,
takes off,
Yep.
and then that's it.
Yeah.
And like you said, you don't see Idris Elba for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of left with that cliffhanger at the very beginning. So the first time you see Idris Elba after the opening scene
Yep.
is when they're doing like the little dance line in the house, in the living room. Everyone's
Yes.
dancing. And my dear just does her dance, and her back is facing the door.
Yes.
And he sneaks in behind her, and he's like, don't tell anybody. He puts his
Right.
finger up to his mouth.
Yep.
And he kind of bumps her, and she turns around, and her whole demeanor changes. She's elated.
So they haven't seen him in 4 years.
Right.
He's much older than the rest of the kids.
Yeah, I think he's the oldest.
Yeah. Yes. So she's shocked and surprised,
Right.
and it's a great moment.
I love the relationship between the two of them, because you can tell. I would say that he's her favorite, but you can tell she has an affinity for him in a different
Absolutely.
way. Because even at the end, they kind of get into a little argument, and he leaves.
Right.
And then, of course, at the very end, because it's a Christmas film, he does come back. And when he walks in during the Christmas dinner scene, she has the same reaction she does at the end as she does when he first shows up in the beginning of the movie. And I love that whole dynamic that the two of them have, because you can tell she wants him to be there.
It felt real.
Right, that's the best way to describe it.
It really did.
It felt really real.
Yeah.
So the cast list is
Yeah.
vast, and they've done a variety of things, big stars. So the soundtrack mimics the cast list. You've got no slouches on this soundtrack. You've got Marvin Gaye, Chris Brown, Aretha Franklin, Luther Vandross, Aaron Neville, TLC, Anthony Hamilton, and Toni Braxton. So
Man.
the big cast in this movie also is reflected on the big names on the soundtrack.
On the soundtrack, yeah.
Yeah.
So the movie opens up with a song, and you said you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, because I've heard this song. We all have.
Santa
It's the
Baby.
Santa Baby.
Yep.
We've all heard it in Christmas movies, and I never really listened to the lyrics. I kind of know some of the words because you heard it so often, but I have subtitles on when I watch movies at home, and I'm watching the lyrics, and this girl's asking for a lot, man. Like, I'm listening to these lyrics. She wants a sable under a Christmas tree. I don't know what a sable is, but it sounds expensive.
It's a car.
Okay, so that's what I...
Mercury Sable?
Yeah, and those cars are trash anyway, so why would you want that?
Well, I think this song was written a long time ago.
It was, you're right. But that's just the beginning of her demands in this song. She wants a sable under a Christmas tree, a convertible, a yacht, a deed to a platinum mine, which don't even exist. And then she wants for Santa to brim her tree with decorations from Tiffany's, which is obviously a super expensive jewelry store.
Absolutely, yep.
And she ends it with she wants a ring. This woman wants everything.
Yep.
So materialistic. Why is this song so popular? I now hate this song because I know what she wants. And this is not in the season of Christmas, these lyrics.
None of
This
this
should
is,
never even be aired in a
Such a
movie,
weird-
a radio, or in a department store ever again.
Yeah.
I'm going to personally cancel Santa Baby. You heard it now. Whoever's in charge, I'm canceling it.
Man.
Hate it. I know girls like this.
Yep.
I think that's why I probably hate this song.
Yeah, that's why you have this disgust
like
for
I've
this
dated
song.
girls who were like, oh, I want this and this and this. Like,
Yeah.
this
Yep.
ain't- I'm not the guy for you. You got to go.
I was sitting there reading this trivia while I was watching the movie because, I wanted to know as much as I could about
Yeah.
this movie. And the Soul Train line at the end of the movie was the actors and actresses dancing. They were not in character.
Yeah, because
They were just
again,
having fun.
Subtitles were on, and you could hear every now and then someone would shout out the real person's name.
Yes.
So I love that.
That's cool.
Earlier, you talked about how you like the film, but obviously it's not a huge, big budget Christmas film, and it shows kind of not amateurish, but maybe Hallmarkish.
Yep.
At some degree, even with the
Yeah,
opening credits.
it did seem Hallmarky.
Yeah. So Rotten Tomatoes, which nobody really gives them a lot of credence to what they say.
Not anymore.
Usually, what they say, I go opposite against.
Yeah.
Especially if they say they
Their
didn't like it,
score.
I'll go see it and I know I'm gonna
Yeah.
love it. But Rotten Tomatoes, the general consensus on that website is the film features strong performances and a sharp portrayal of family dynamics, which we've kind of talked about,
Absolutely.
but relies too heavily on holiday cliches,
Yeah.
which probably kind of ties into that whole Hallmark feel. But a lot of Christmas films rely on that. All Christmas films that I've seen end happy.
If it's a drama like this, which this was totally a drama.
Yeah.
They're going to be tropes on the Christmas
Right.
Hallmark, whatever. So you have brokenhearted, you have a cheater, you have somebody in trouble with the law, you have a military guy on his AWOL.
You have an internal family conflict.
The Madeir is like dating a guy. She's where's Dad?
We never know.
So they never explained that.
Yeah.
And there's this new guy in her relationship, in her life, that some of the kids know.
Yeah, some of the kids know Idris Elba's character isn't really fond of him at all.
He's not, and it's clear.
Yeah, from the get-go.
Right.
He basically is like, oh, Joe's here. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
He tries to leave.
And there's not a whole lot of resolve in that relationship.
There isn't.
Like, even though at the end, he saves him from those guys in the bathroom.
Yeah.
When he's getting beat up, and he what does he offer him? And he doesn't.
Well, he offers the thugs trying to chase him for this money, like $10,000.
Yep.
And he says, you guys, because he owes the guys $25,000.
Yep.
Well, Joe shows up, saves him, and has $10,000 in an envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm thinking, you stole that from the church because you're a deacon.
Oh, damn.
But no, he offers him that. He says, why don't you just take this money and we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
And I would be thankful if someone showed up to my aid and tried to pay off some of my debt to get me out of trouble.
And Idris is not.
And he was just like not having it. He just really hated this guy. It doesn't really get resolved till the very end until Idris Elba comes back after leaving again at the Christmas dinner table. And Joe's like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave because he knows there's still tension there. And Idris Elba says, no, Joe, you sit here, you sit at the head of the table, you belong here.
Yeah. And they toast to him.
And they toast to him, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's that's the last scene of the film. So
Right.
I won't lie, the church scene at the end, when Chris Brown's singing This Christmas, I got a little teared up,
It's
man.
pretty
I'm not
emotional.
gonna lie. It was.
Yeah. Man, is it Sharon Leal?
Sharon Leal.
Yeah, she is not ugly.
Yeah, I noticed you texted me about that.
I did. I was like, Kelly's hot.
Do you remember an old show that went on for like 3 or 4 years? It was a David E. Kelly show called Boston Public.
I remember the show. I never watched it.
Okay, yeah, it's about high school teachers. She McBride is the principal. Love She McBride.
Oh, yeah.
And Sharon Leal is one of the teachers in that show.
Oh, cool.
And they end up dating in that show. Loved it.
I have a friend who's an actor that I've known from Teen Mania who was in that show for a while. Yeah.
When that show was on, I wanted to be a high school teacher. That show made me want to be a high school teacher.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Mekhi Phifer a little bit because he's a pretty big role in this. He's Kelly's.
Well, they meet at the club scene. So his character and Idris Elba know each other just in the music scene.
He's like man, I haven't seen that guy in a long time.
Yeah.
Like an old friend.
Right.
Or whatever.
So he comes over and basically just has his sights set on Kelly, Sharon Leal's character.
Yep.
And is trying to get with her. But he's not like the sleazy, hey, I'm in the club, let me take you home type.
Right.
He's very classy about it.
He's established.
Yeah.
He's got more class.
Right.
I think he's a lot older than Kelly.
Yeah, he kind of comes off that way.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because so when Chris Brown's singing in that scene, he asks Kelly to dance, and she says sure. So she goes up, they start dancing, and then at the end of the song, he whispers something in her ear, and they kind of duck off.
Yeah.
And we don't see her till the next morning, which is kind of a funny scene because it's from the perspective of Joe's character. He's putting up Christmas lights
with his back to her.
Yeah, and in the background you see Kelly trying to sneak up because she sees him upstairs putting up lights.
Yep.
He's hiding behind trees trying to get in, and the youngest daughter catches her.
Well, she comes up to the window and like everybody's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then you see her head just for a second outside
Right.
the window frame, and then she ducks out.
Yeah.
And then she gets caught.
My dear figures it out.
Yeah.
So my dear is sharp in this movie, man.
You didn't know that she knew until like Kelly walks away and Madeir says like, something to give it away that she knew.
Right. Yeah.
Of course she knew.
Yeah.
Madeir knows what's up.
Because even earlier than that, the first night they're back in the house,
Yeah.
and Kelly is in her bedroom and she's going through her drawer and she pulls out her vibrator.
Yeah.
And she's kind of messing around with it.
Yeah.
And Madeir pops in and
she's like, and Madeir didn't see it. We don't think she does. And Kelly puts it back in the drawer or whatever and slams the drawer.
And then they start talking about something else, dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a lighthearted conversation.
Sure.
And then she's like, okay, sure, my dear. And then as my dear walks away, she's like, oh, you need some batteries?
Yeah. She's like, no, I'm good. Yeah, Madeir knows what's up.
But you know what? That's also really true of like these matriarchs of these families. Like there's not much that gets by them.
Exactly.
They know what happens in their house.
Exactly.
And what's going on. So we move on to Regina King's character we haven't talked about yet. Love her as an actress as well. She was most recently before this. She was most recently in The Watchmen, one series TV show on HBO.
Okay.
Which I haven't seen yet.
I didn't see all of it. I only saw like 2 or maybe 3 episodes.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of it yet, but I have HBO Max, so I plan on starting soon.
Cool.
But I heard she crushes her role in that show. And I think she won an award for that show, too.
They're going through some troubles, and you notice that in the first scene we see them in, they're getting ready to leave to go to Madeire's house.
Right.
And what happens?
So her husband is played by Laz Alonso, and he's getting ready, and he's actually on the phone talking. There's a lot of cell phone dialogue in this movie.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's always a reveal later who they're talking to and what's really happening.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool, kind of cool thing. But he's on the phone trying to close some kind of deal is what it sounds like. He's talking very business-like.
Some sort of like construction or condominium or something like that.
Because he references like, I'll get the money, I'll have it by this date, we'll close this deal.
Like a real estate investment property.
Right.
Something.
And Regina King's character is getting the kids ready and she's getting ready. I think he like rushes her.
And she's very submissive to him.
Man, let me tell you, the first dinner scene they have, she is catering to him.
I was disgusted by him in that scene.
I was too. The way he talked to her.
Well, he's like, hey, can you cut up my steak?
Can you cut my steak?
Kelly picks up on this, and Kelly's like,
right away.
Why don't you just put in his, feed him too, or whatever she says. Man, I was upset with him.
Same.
Yeah. Because I know men like this.
Yeah.
And they upset me.
Yeah. They feel like they're kings. Like,
oh my gosh.
They take that head of household thing to another level.
Yeah, and they treat their wives like dirt.
Yeah.
And make them like their slaves and, stupid.
Right.
I'm not a fan of this.
Neither was I.
Yeah.
Which is why I love the reveal that, I don't love the reveal that we find out he's been cheating on her, but he does have to he says he has to rush away to close this deal. Yeah. And you know something's off at this point for sure. This doesn't seem right. She drives him to the airport, and they kind of get into a little bit of an argument there. And he keeps trying to reassure her, everything I do it for you and the kids. I love you. Right. And whenever a guy reassures a woman in a film,
that's gaslighting. It's
100%.
Manipulation.
Yeah.
And it's stupid.
Yeah.
And then like she's like, I love you, and he like gets on the phone.
Doesn't say anything.
And like goes up the escalator.
Right.
And basically leaves her right there without. I think he kissed her on the forehead. Which is very demeaning.
The classic forehead kiss?
The classic forehead kiss, which is like, it's basically like bopping them on the head.
Pretty much.
Right? Like she's a pet
like you pet
or
your dog,
a child.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah. So she and Kelly have a discussion out on the porch about it. And because Kelly caught him on the phone earlier, she checked the caller ID because he calls in from wherever he had to go fly, San Francisco. Yeah. And she catches caller ID and it says, like some fancy hotel, Marriott hotel, whatever. Yeah. And so she realized right away, oh, you're cheating, you're with somebody. So Lisa's out on the porch, kind of just like stewing in her emotions about this. Kelly comes out to check on her, and eventually just tells her the truth. She's like bluntly, hey, Malcolm's cheating on you. You need to just realize that, get over it.
And what does Lisa say?
Lisa says, I know.
So this is a situation that I've known about. I've had friends in the situation, married, like, husband's cheating, wife's cheating, the other one knows about it.
Yeah.
And they're just dealing with it. Like or they're not dealing with it. They're just letting it happen. Like it's just whatever. It's so stupid. And
I agree.
She does get her retribution later.
And that may be my favorite scene in the movie.
I laughed so loud.
So before this scene comes up, Kelly kind of confronts her and blatantly says, hey, he's cheating. And she says, I know. Yeah. And then they kind of start throwing jabs at each other, that low blows. Mm-hmm. And they get into this fight. It's kind of comical. It's not choreographed very well.
It's not.
But it's pouring down rain.
And
it's supposed to be LA.
They're both getting soaking wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she tears off, Lisa does, in the car. And she's riding around. They cut to her later, and she's like, she's
visibly upset.
Right, been crying. Her makeup is smearing. Mm-hmm. She gets to a clearing on the road, and she's kind of sitting there, and you can tell she's just like stewing with some thoughts. She drives forward, gets out of the car, keeps the car in neutral, and it drives off of this clearing down, 40, 50 feet.
Oh, yeah.
And the car, it's an Escalade, it's brand new.
It's nice.
They even reference how nice the car looks in the beginning.
Wasn't his name on it?
Yeah, on the license plate.
Malcolm,
yeah.
It said Malcolm
Egotistical,
on the...
right.
Yeah.
And the car just gets smashed to bits. My favorite scene.
Yeah. Oh, that's your favorite, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I thought you were talking about the bathroom scene later.
Oh, so that's a continuation.
With the baby oil.
Yeah, because he does come back, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when he comes back, he's worn out. He's still got his business suit on. She's dressed in like really sexy lingerie.
And she is fit.
Yeah, super fit.
Bro, she looked good.
Yeah, she did. And she's this whole setup. She looks really great for him. You know, and he's like, oh, okay, let me. She's like, yeah, baby, why don't you go ahead and shower? I'll be waiting for you right here. Trying to set him up.
Yeah.
He hops in the shower real quick. He's talking about, oh, just wait till I get out this shower, girl. What I'm gonna do to you? And she's like, oh yeah, I can't wait for you to get out. Toying with them.
And she's like putting her clothes back on.
Regular clothes.
Yeah.
And then she grabs a bottle of baby oil.
From a deer.
Yeah. She's like, Mom, my dear, you have any baby oil? And she's like, oh yeah, baby, third drawer down.
Yeah. She's like, I just bought that. Yeah.
And she goes back to the shower. Malcolm's still showering, still talking noise about what he's gonna do to her.
Yeah. He didn't even know that she was gone.
No idea.
Yeah.
And she starts spraying the linoleum on the floor full of baby oil.
Oh my gosh.
And as soon as he gets out, she basically says, she confronts him and she's like, you know what? This is her moment to stand up to him finally.
Yep.
And take the reins of control back from him and say, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I want you out of this house, da-da-da. I know what you've been doing. And he tries to deny it, of course, and sweet talk her still. And then eventually he tries to get a little more aggressive with what he's saying to her.
Yeah.
She says, why don't you come over here and do something about it? Stepped out of the shower, immediately hits the floor. And he's naked, but he's got a towel on.
Yeah.
And he just cannot get up. And she takes out a belt and starts whooping him with the belt.
Oh.
I love that whole scene.
Oh my God.
Loved it.
Yeah, you felt really good for her.
Hey, I was cheering her on.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was so good for her.
It was a really good scene.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the scene with the other younger daughter.
So she's the youngest girl in the family.
Yep.
And obviously she brings this guy home.
And it's like that. I've been in this situation before where your older cousins are meeting like your cousin's girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yeah.
And it's like they're all being like,
You're kind of testing them a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like
teasing them.
Being coy and
right.
Like Chris Brown's got his camera and he does the whole like
flirts like you're gonna make him.
He's gonna hit him or something,
right.
and Devin did nothing.
Yeah,
And then he take a picture of his face. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that scene because, like you said, that's a real life scene. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And because they're just overly protective and they don't really dislike him, but it's like you're trying to like test him,
yep.
see what he's made of, and he kind of passes the test.
Apparently, according to Madeir, at dinner, they're kind of making fun of Mel, and Mel's had like several boyfriends.
Right.
She can't decide on what her major is.
Well, Kelly even says, well, she's dating whoever is her in her. What is
her major changes by whoever she's dating. By whoever she's
dating, yeah.
Like if of course he's in pre-law or pre-med or something.
Yeah, because she says, well, I'm pre-med now, and then someone asks, well, Devin, what's your major? And then there's a pause, and he's like, I'm pre-med.
Yeah, like a long pause.
Yeah.
It's a funny moment.
It is. So there's this So then we skip later in the film, and Claude is talking to, at this point we don't know, but it's his wife.
Yeah.
And he's trying to sneak out.
Yeah.
And he's telling her, let me try to sneak out of the house, and I'll meet you. So Devin and Mel were in the kitchen making out, and they're trying to find a place where they can hide and have sex. So they are trying to figure that out, and then they see Claude coming into the room talking.
Yep.
So they hide into the pantry, which, by the way, this is a really big pantry.
It's a pretty big, I think it's a pantry like laundry room.
Yeah, because I think they sit on the washer, the dryer. Yeah. So they're hiding from him, and they can hear this. And so Claude's talking on the phone to his wife, and Mel's telling Devin to be quiet, and they're kind of just hiding. They're not doing anything at this point. They're kind of half undressed. And then the other siblings come into the kitchen, and they're like, oh, you're going out, we want to go, da-da-da. And Claude's trying to tell him, no, I'm going to do my own thing, and this and that. And then Idris Elba's character keeps hearing something like a bump or a knock in the wall of the room. He's like, oh, wait, shh, y'all hear that? And then it gets quiet, and it cuts to Mel and Devin in the closet, and she keeps telling him, she's like, shh, be quiet. And he's like, it's not even me, that kind of thing. It's back and forth for a few seconds. And then they start talking about Devin while he's in the closet, not knowing he's there.
Right.
Trying to figure out his name, how to pronounce it.
Yeah, and he's like, it's Devin.
Yeah, just out of the blue.
Just like, I'm like, dude, like, what's up?
Yeah. Like, if you would have not said anything, you guys would have got away with it.
Right. So
then they come out, and Mel, she's like, oh, y'all going out? I want to go.
Yeah.
Like, all baby-like.
Yeah.
So then they cut to the club scene. But I did love the little playful moments like that.
It was fun, yeah. And this movie has a lot of those little cute moments. There's another moment that I'm not really sure about, and I want to talk to you about it because I want to see if you can explain it to me. The relationship between those two thugs is very strange.
It is.
They're like brothers sorta.
Yeah.
But then they kind of had homosexual tendencies.
They did.
Sorta. They're both like going to sleep that one night.
Right.
Mo and Dude. And they're actually staying at Madeir's house.
Because they track Idris Elba down.
They track him down, they beat him up out on the porch. And they have to go in, like he has to, and like he's introducing them to the family, but he's also being very protective of how he knows them and what they're there for and all this stuff, obviously. And then so they're staying there in one night, and Mo and Dude are like going to sleep, and they're in separate beds, and they have their own little pillows, and they're like saying goodnight to each other. And that's the scene that confused me, because I was just like, I thought I was supposed to be taking these guys really seriously.
Same.
I thought their characters were like supposed to be menacing and threatening.
Right.
And then they do this, and then of course Idris takes their wallet or something.
Yeah, because he kind of tricks him. He's like, "Why don't you guys stay, in front of the family?"
And he bounces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's at the train station when he gets caught because they realize what
That's
happened.
right.
And they're like, it was awfully nice of Quentin to offer to let us stay here.
Right.
And then they both kind of have like a light bulb moment where there's no dialogue. And they realize, oh, wait, they check for their stuff, and he says, well, it's gone.
Yeah.
And he stole it, to buy the bus ticket or train ticket back to Chicago. And that's how they track him down. But that scene you're talking about, I can see how you would think it's like maybe these guys are hinted at as being gay. It could either be that, or maybe they just threw that in to cut for comic relief. But that doesn't really work either.
There was a bit of comic relief to it, but it was more, I mean, you don't want your audience to be confused. So it was more confusion for me.
Right.
I was confused on the attitudes and like how they were treating each other.
So me watching it again, earlier this week, I kind of had the same vibe you did. Like, it's kind of confusing, that one scene, because it did kind of stand out, but I kind of just dismissed it as that they just missed the mark to me from a production, from a writer standpoint. They just missed the mark in that scene. So. And
I don't even know if that scene was necessary, other than showing that he stole their wallet.
And they could have done that a different way too.
They could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in that scene, I remember watching it the other night. I'm thinking, this house has like so many bedrooms in it.
It's a giant house.
Yeah, because there's at least 10 people in this house. They all have their own bedroom.
And we see an exterior of it when everybody starts showing up. And Kelly shows up and in her new car and all this stuff out in the front yard.
I love that it's a Christmas movie. It takes place, in theory, in L.A. Because they even reference how it never rains in L.A.
I'm pretty sure it is in L.A. Yeah.
And then, so it's not a typical decorated house that you see in Christmas movies, like all these characters in the front yard and the Christmas lights.
Yep.
Now you see Joe putting up lights early on in the film, but that's really all you see of it. Inside the house, do we even see a Christmas tree? I never remember seeing a Christmas tree.
I don't think so.
Or presents, nothing like that.
I remember Mekhi Phifer coming in as Santa.
Yeah.
Which is a really funny scene.
That was funny.
Like right after they had slept together.
Right, which I thought that was a little extra, a little pushy.
Yep.
But the way they kind of handled that relationship throughout the film was done really well, so I kind of accepted it for what it was.
It was all filmed in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
The Grove, Union Station, El Rey Theater, which is probably where Chris Brown performed. Yeah. LAX, the Catholic Church in LA. I mean, all the locations were in LA. In
the beginning, we're introduced to Idris Elba, who's Quentin. Like you said, he's on the stage playing the sax. Now, he's supposed to be in Chicago in that scene, in that city. Yep. And they see him later, he's on the bus. Yeah. Was that shot in LA too, I'm assuming? I guess it was all shot in LA, even that scene.
As far as I can tell, all of the locations are LA.
Because it's easy to have a place in LA and say it's Chicago. If you've never been there, it's a dimly lit room. Sure. Just like a nightclub type setting with a bar.
Yep. All interiors, so you don't know where it actually is. Yep. So what are you what are your thoughts on this movie? So I liked it, and one of the reasons I picked it that I don't think I mentioned at the top of the pod was I just like to see Black representation, just in general, obviously. Right. But especially during the holiday season in Christmas movies, because we celebrate Christmas too. Yep. And not every Black movie has to be a straight up comedy or it's all about criminals and drug dealers and gangsters and murderers. We can be normal people with normal real world issues because we're just regular people also. Of course. And it's something that in the last 13 years, one of the reasons I think I talk about this film with my sister and brother-in-law so often
is because in the last 13 years since it's come out, we haven't seen it on television. And it's something that stands out to me because obviously when I'm watching things, I'm watching with, my black lenses.
Yeah.
Right? Like I would assume when you watch things, you just watch them with your white lenses. And it's not like you just purposely say, I'm looking for this.
No.
That's how we perceive things because of the climate that we're in. And in the last 13 years since this film's come out, I'm watching the Home Alones and the Christmas Vacations and the Christmas Story, It's a Wonderful Life. And I don't see black representation during Christmas time. And so this movie stands out to me for that reason.
It was exciting to talk to you last night when you came in because I immediately saw this new. I sent you a trailer for a new Keegan-Michael Key, Forrest Whitaker, all predominantly black Christmas movie coming out called Jingle Jangle on Netflix, which looked really fun. And the reason for me bringing this up is just that it's exciting to know that there's another predominantly black-driven Christmas movie.
Right.
And it looks like it's a fun, magical type, fantasy type Christmas movie.
Okay.
Which is typically what I go for.
It is true, I've noticed.
When I want to watch a Christmas movie. However, we're going to be talking about Christmas movies the next several episodes. I enjoyed this movie, man. I thought it was fun, and it was refreshing to me to again to see this culture that I'd never really experienced in a Christmas format. Mm-hmm. And I bought into these stories, and I bought into these characters.
It was a Christmas movie with an all-black cast, and that's all it was. It wasn't trying to portray a stereotype of a black person or a white person or whoever. Movies like this, obviously don't get recognized by the masses because it is catered to a specific demo. Yep. It's an all-black audience, all-black cast.
I am glad that it did well in the box office because,
me too.
I've never heard of it. It's really weird for me to not hear of a movie.
Right.
And watching this for the first time, knowing that it's on Netflix, I might watch it again. Mm-hmm. This would be like a good movie to watch with a date or something.
That's true. Yeah, it would be. Absolutely.
Revisit this with a girlfriend or something. But I think it was great. It's got 6.3 stars on IMDb.
Okay. If you ever date a black woman, you should definitely take her to this. If it happens to be around the holiday season, that's the movie you want to watch with her. Yeah. I know we talked about how your little test with the date is playing by heart.
Playing by heart. Yeah.
If she's white, it's cool. Or she's black, it's fine.
Yeah,
I'm a black guy. I like that movie.
I'm not opposed to any race.
Right.
Dating
but if
any
she happens
race.
to be black, show her that.
Yeah, sure.
But let her know you're not getting any of the things that the Santa Baby song references. You're not buying her that.
There's a bunch of user reviews most of them that I'm flying through right now are all really good.
Okay.
So a lot of users liked it. So Roger Ebert on his website says, I'm not going to make the mistake of trying to summarize what happens in This Christmas. If you see it, you'll know what I mean. Because there's just so much that happens. It's sort of a screwball comedy effect but with heart. This is a movie about African Americans, but it's not an African American movie.
Exactly.
So that's what you were saying.
So that goes to the point that I'm saying,
Yep.
I love how when the first cooking scene, it's Lisa, Kelly, and Madir, and they will not let Kelly cook.
Yeah, because Kelly can't.
She can't cook.
Yeah.
Which I think fits her character. She's career-driven.
Yeah.
Doesn't have time for a relationship.
Yeah.
She's not going to have time to cook.
Madir makes that classic joke, which is, you can only make reservations. Which you've heard a million times.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's been used a lot. So is there a favorite scene?
So the dinner table scene, the first dinner table scene.
Yep.
Quentin's not there yet.
Yep.
He hasn't made it to town. Everyone's dressed up, right? They're like, and it's like a thing. I don't know if this is like a black and white thing, but when I've gone to extended family get-togethers, everyone dresses up.
Absolutely, we do the same thing.
So it's a thing for you too.
Yeah,
okay.
We did the same thing growing up.
Can you tell me why that is?
I just think it's it has to do with going to service the same night. Or it's Christmas time and you're gonna dress up.
Right.
Yeah. You're not gonna wear a t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's a little bit more respect for the holiday, a little bit more respect for the matriarch, a little bit more respect for whatever's going on.
Because usually these gatherings
for the religious reasons of this holiday. So yeah.
And these gatherings usually do end up at a grandfather or grandmother's house. You want to be respectful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's funny that we come up with that conclusion because so my grandparents on my father's side, they both passed in the mid 2000s, and we used to always have our family extended get-togethers at their house, which is still in existence, and nothing's happened to the house. It's still there.
Right.
I actually have an uncle living in it now, but in the years since their passing, we'd have get-togethers at that house. I notice I don't dress up as much.
Interesting, because they're gone.
Yeah, but I didn't make the correlation really until we just said this.
So the duty of doing that isn't really necessary anymore because they're past.
Yeah, I still look at the house as my grandparents' house.
Right.
Even though it's been vacant until recently, my uncle's living in it now. But
Yeah.
I'll always look at that house and the rooms. It's really still even eerie to this day, like 13, 14 years later, to go in that house and know they're not there.
Exactly.
'Cause to me, it's always going to be grandma and grandpa's house.
Exactly.
Always.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Like you said, it's a respect thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a traditional thing, and you do want to kind of, I guess, up your game a little bit.
My dad's side of the family, we did dress up for those kind of
Right.
get-togethers. My mom's side, it was a little bit more laid back. And I think that was the precedent set by the patriarch or the matriarch of the family,
Right.
my grandfather and my grandmother, who lived in a little very small like country home in Edgewood, Texas, and then we would all cram into that home and pull out the extra chairs and pull in chairs from other rooms, and we're all gathered in the teeny tiny living room.
Yeah.
But it always felt huge.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how small the house was.
Exactly.
We were all there. We were typically going to watch. We were going to do a meal, a pretty big meal. All the trimmings, all that kind of, like the turkey and the ham and the gravy and all that stuff. Go through some presents and watch Star Wars.
Really?
Like that's what we did.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. My grandfather died about 20 years ago, and they've since moved out of that little house, and we've sold it, and
Okay.
it's different, now. And so we,
Yeah.
in fact, a lot of them have moved down south Texas, and I haven't really seen them much lately. So it's just weird. Like this Christmas is going to be a little different. Remy will be with me for the entire month of December.
Double entendre this Christmas.
This Christmas, nice. I didn't even realize. I'm so ready to be done with this year.
I am too.
More than last year. Like last year was kind of rough in some areas, and I remember at the end of the year, like just being so happy that it's over. This year, 10 times more.
So to kind of tease our next bonus features episode, to piggyback off of what you just said, we're gonna do like a little 2020 year in review
recap.
Yeah,
Cool.
And we'll touch on some things in terms of
Good.
everyone being ready to get over with this year and this and that. But I second your opinions on this year.
Yeah.
We're all ready for it to be over.
Absolutely, man.
But to go back to what you were saying about your grandparents' house and gatherings we're talking about, another respect thing I think for us, my grandfather on my dad's side was the pastor of the church I was raised in. So it takes the respect thing to another level for me because, like I said, I grew up in this church where I've always just seen my grandfather as the pastor.
Yep.
So he's not only a leader of the family, but the leader of the church, which I guess made my grandmother like the first lady, kind of.
That's cool. I like that.
So, yeah. So I do want to take the time to talk about just some moments in the film and some more trivia. I'm not really known for the trivia portion. That's kind of more your bag, but I wrote a few things down because, like you said at the top of the pod, there wasn't a lot of trivia on this movie. So this is just more kind of observational.
Okay.
I'm gonna go a little Jerry Seinfeld here for a second.
I like it.
So black families, this is kind of a thing that they do. And I don't know if this could be representative in white families. I don't know, you can tell me, but black families will get together and start ragging on each other and airing each other's dirty laundry. It's a thing, man.
Dude, we do it all the time.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, in this movie, it starts out as good fun, but after the film,
turns.
It goes kind of dark pretty quick.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the film, we talk about how Quentin is, he makes a run for it from Mo and Dude.
Yep.
And he's on the bus from Chicago to L.A. Do you know how long that bus ride would be?
That's a long time.
Yeah. I mean, even just getting in a car, hit the road.
That's days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because buses, you've been on a bus before.
Absolutely.
Like they tape a bunch of stops.
Yep.
Did they say tape? So buses take a bunch of stops.
Yep.
And I once took the bus from Houston when I was going to college there one year to Tyler for a weekend. And that's like a 3-hour drive in a car. But on the bus, it took 5. Because you stop at gas stations, everyone gets out to stretch their legs, use the bathroom, buy stuff. You wait for everybody to get back on the bus. So a little bit of trivia about Idris Elba. We talk about he's a musician in this film. And obviously, if you're familiar with him...
He's a DJ.
He's a DJ. He loves music, and he's pretty well known for that. He's put out a few singles, couple of EPs, and it's decent. It's decent work. But he's open for Dead Mouse 5.
Oh, it's just Dead Mouse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. And I know that too.
The S is a 5,
Yeah.
but it's just Dead
So
Mouse.
he's open for Dead Mouse. Hold on. And I know that too.
Dead Mouse 5, ladies and
gosh.
gentlemen.
I pronounced it the way it's written, and but I know it's Dead Mouse.
Dead Mouse 5.
Yeah. The first time I ever saw that, I was like, what is that?
How do
I
you
knew
say
who he
that?
was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Idris Elba's open for Dead Mouse, Madonna twice,
Oh, nice.
and he even DJ'd a royal wedding.
Nice.
So he's kind of a big deal, which I didn't realize he was that well known.
I think he was a bigger DJ for a long time than he was an actor.
That's probably true.
Before he got into acting.
Yeah.
I remember my first time to see him was on The Office. I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And then
You never watched The Wire?
no, I never watched The Wire, and he like started showing up in other movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, this guy's good. Like Pacific Rim,
Right.
you know, one of my favorite movies that he's in.
Hobbs and Shaw?
Hobbs and Shaw. He has a
I'm
pretty
Black
big,
Superman.
yeah, yeah. But his role in The Office was really good.
Yeah. There's a funny scene in the club where, so they see Baby on stage. His real name is Michael, but obviously the family calls him Baby because he's the youngest.
Yep.
And Kelly asked Gerald, who's Mekhi Phifer. Earlier we said he asked her to dance.
Yeah.
Well, she asked Gerald if he wants to dance, and Claude speaks up and says, "No, I'm chilling."
Yeah.
Because Claude's sitting in front of her, and she's like, "No, not you." It's a little moment, but when you
It's
see
funny,
it,
yeah.
because he's in front of her, he has no idea. He's like, "No, I'm chilling." That's
Yeah.
like a phrase I would say. "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, not you." There's a lot of little brotherly and sisterly moments in this.
Of course.
That just kind of make him feel like a real family.
Yeah, right. It's chemistry.
It's a family I would not mind being a part of, by the way. They just seem
Oh,
like
cool.
they have it together enough. Even the scene where they're talking about what they want to do with the family business, with the laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about should they sell it? Should they not? They're discussing this. Quentin's not even there yet.
Right.
And somebody even mentions, well, Quentin's not even here to give his 2 cents, so we shouldn't have this conversation right now. And the whole reason that Lisa's even bringing this up is because Malcolm has convinced her, you guys need to sell this business
Right.
so we can get this money and
Right.
and do other things with
But
it.
it's more of a selfish thing.
It's a selfish thing, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a good job of showing the dynamic of like, this is like the family, and then this is like the guy married into
Yep.
the family, like kind of like an extension. So they kind of just respect the family's wishes of him being a part of the family. But
Right.
like you said, there's lines that let you know as the audience that they're not all fond of him at all.
Yeah, they don't really like him.
And Kelly really doesn't like him.
Really doesn't like him.
Yeah.
But
Kelly reminds me of Gillian Anderson's character from Playing by Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Career-driven, not really trying to get into a relationship.
Yep.
And then they both
Wants one.
wants one.
But isn't going to sacrifice her anything really to
Yeah.
have one.
Which is something I think lately in my personal life I've been struggling with. Like I've been so like focused on creating,
Driven on career.
yeah, like the podcast and filming. Because I was thinking about Kelly's character just in like mental prep for this episode, thinking if I had to choose between settling down or creating, I'm gonna pick creating.
Yep.
As lonely as I can be sometimes or feel sometimes, I would rather pick creating because that's something that I can do forever.
Sure.
Relationships can go south. You can end up going through 3 or 4 different partners trying to find the right one. Whereas with creating, you can try multiple things and you'll learn from them and
Absolutely.
they can continue on forever.
Well, I'm glad you said you've been thinking about Kelly's character because I have been too.
No,
She's so hot.
That was the first thing you texted me about the movie when you were watching
I
the other
said,
night.
bro, Kelly's so hot.
So we talk about the discovery scene of Baby being this great singer.
Yep.
And you see all the facial reactions of the siblings. Is there anybody in your family that had a hidden secret like that and you were like, oh, I didn't know you had this talent or this gift? Anything that blew you away?
No, because what we've really done well in our family is like if you have a gift, we're going to celebrate it.
Okay.
So like at Christmas, I have a cousin named Jordan. Jordan's always going to sing.
Gotcha.
His mom and dad, my dad's brother Tommy, and his wife Jeannie, they're going to sing, and like it's just a thing. In fact, I remember one of my fondest memories of going to a Christmas party at my Uncle Ed's house.
Okay.
Which he lived in a log cabin. It was a really cool Christmas party, and Jordan had a videotape of his. Like he was in like a men's ensemble, like a cappella group.
Yeah.
And they sang Motown Philly.
Really?
And it was phenomenal.
That's crazy.
And that's kind of what like introduced me to different type of music I'd never
Right.
heard before. Cause like that was Boys to Men,
Yeah,
right? And
100%.
Motown Philly is one of their biggest
Yeah,
songs.
it put
and
them on the
like,
map.
and they killed, like my cousin's group killed it. It was
Okay.
really good.
Now, how long ago was this? You
This
said-
was like 20 something years.
Are
No,
they still,
more.
Are they still a thing?
Probably not. more like 30 years ago.
Oh, so they're not still a thing, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm 39.
Yeah.
I would have been like early teens when
Wow.
zits on my face.
Yeah.
Voice still changing time when I was, and of course I admired him because he was doing really cool things.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite cousins.
Wow. And how much older was he than you? Or
Jordan
is he than you?
is at least 5 or 6 years older than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think another reason why I like that we chose this movie to talk about is because it's not a very common movie to talk about. Like
No.
when you talk about Christmas movies, it's going to be the same ones.
Right.
Right. And we're going to cover a few of those, but it was refreshing again to watch this and to know that this is in the echelon of Christmas movies that
Right.
we can return to.
Yeah, I thought it was important to review this one from just a black culture standpoint.
Of course.
Like you said, we've said it several times. It belongs in that group with the other ones that are always on television.
Yeah.
Every holiday season. And I think with it being on Netflix, it'll probably gain a little more notoriety because now everyone's streaming everything because we're in a pandemic. A character we haven't discussed yet is Cousin Fred.
Yeah, Cousin Fred comes into the picture when?
So when some of the siblings show up outside of the house towards the beginning of the film and they're all kind of greeting each other, Cousin Fred's already there.
That's right.
He's the light-skinned, bald guy.
With the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he hugs Kelly. He makes this remark where he says, "You're lucky we're family," or "Girl, you're lucky we're related," something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
It's like real creepy.
Like an incestual type comment.
And he's only in a handful of scenes. He's in one of the dinner table scenes.
Yep.
I think he's at the very end.
Yep.
But they don't really highlight his character that much.
The director's name is Preston Whitmore. Mm-hmm. This family's name is the Whitfields.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was, I'm sure that was
It had to be, yeah.
something he did. I'm curious more about this story. Like, was this based on real life events that he's been experienced?
I think it was easy for him to direct because it probably did have a lot of reflection of holidays he spent with his family.
Yep.
Like I said, holidays is when you get together with your family, you air out your dirty laundry, you try to resolve things, you talk things out, and you fight a little bit, and you make up by the end of it. A lot of movies do this where it's like the family comes back together after years of not seeing each other for whatever reason, and then everything's good at first, like on the surface, and the longer they're with each other, the issues start to kind of come to the forefront, and they're discussed and they're dealt with, and then by the end of it, there's some sort of resolution within the conflicts.
Yep.
So
there's an interesting thing, on IMDb's movie pages, they have this section called Goofs.
Yeah.
And we just sometimes talk about these, but we don't always. But I'd like to cover some of these right now. When Claude Whitfield got arrested, Joe Black said that he was AWOL, AWOL, from the Army. At the end of the movie, he has a Marine Corps uniform on. Army personnel go AWOL, Marines go UA, which is unexcused absence.
Okay.
So it's an incorrect use of that term.
Right.
AWOL is way more commonplace.
Right.
Like you and I immediately knew what AWOL was when we heard it. But if somebody says UA, you're thinking United Artists or what's that? There was
Unauthorized
airline.
United Airlines.
United Airlines, I think. Anyways, so that's interesting.
See, that's the thing
flub.
that I picked up on, but it didn't register like that. Because I know, like you said, Joe Black says the Army.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, when they first showed him, he's in a Marine outfit.
Yep.
And then I kind of just forgot about it.
There's a role we talked about on set in the beginning of this podcast, several episodes ago, called a script soup.
Yes.
And a script soup typically has some sort of camera, and they take a picture of what is in the scene or what a character's drinking or holding or wearing or something, so that they can go, because there's going to be takes when not everybody's in the take, in the scene, because the camera's not facing towards them or whatever. This bit of information says, in one of the first kitchen scenes, baby Chris Brown, his camera keeps appearing and disappearing from around his neck. So that'd be the script soup's job to say, hey, you need to put your camera back around your neck because it's not in this scene.
That's a job that's not really highlighted when you talk about production, but it's extremely vital to have on set.
Very vital, yeah.
For continuity purposes, like you talked about.
Continuity is so important. Mm-hmm. And there's so many, like if you go on YouTube and look up continuity errors in movies, there's tons of them.
It's a lot.
Braveheart. There's a big one in Braveheart.
Right.
Where he's running. There's this big long shot where he's running through the fields, towards a battle or whatever. And in one shot, he's got a sword. They cut back. In one shot, he's got like an axe.
Right.
They cut back in one shot. And that's the script soup's job.
It is
to watch that take or that daily and say, hey, that's not right. You need to change that or whatever.
I love like the spoof genre.
Yep.
Because a lot of times they'll
pick up on that.
Yeah, and they'll like do continuity errors on purpose.
Yep.
And they make it blatant.
Of course.
Like Scary Movie's big on that.
Yep.
Anything that Robert Stack was in, Airplane 2.
Oh, yes.
Those are funny. So towards the end, Claude is arrested.
Yep.
Because he gets in a fight with these guys at the club.
Yep.
Because it's the same guys that were accosting his wife earlier at the bar.
Exactly.
They approach him again later, and they continue to kind of
They're being jerks.
harass him.
Yeah.
It's basically like a white versus black thing, which I didn't get because I'm like, you guys are black hitting on this white woman too.
It didn't really seem racially charged to me.
But it was like at the beginning when they say, "Oh, my bad, I didn't know it was your girl."
Yeah.
Brother, they emphasize brother, like, oh, like stay black type of thing. And then later on, after Chris Brown's through singing, they walk up to him again and they start kind of accosting him. And he's military, so he takes both guys out, pulls his service weapon.
Yeah.
So when you find out later he's AWOL, so now you have your service weapon on you.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you're in a club, you didn't get patted down walking into the club. It was crazy to me. You pulled a gun on the guy.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen it in a while, so I didn't remember what was going to happen. I didn't remember what was going to happen to his character. And of course, he's in a jail cell.
Right.
And Sandy shows up to the house. And they're having this argument. At this point, my dear kind of figures out Claude showed up, he's AWOL, now he's in jail from this incident. So this is the part of the film where everything starts to kind of turn much more serious. The issues that were kind of in the background kind of come to the forefront.
Exactly.
And she's freaking out. Nobody told me what's going to happen. How are we going to get him out? And Sandy walks in, and she just calmly says, yeah, it's not like him to do this. I don't know what's going on. And my dear steps up and says, do I know you?
Yeah.
It's just the way she says it.
Well, there's this young white girl in her house, and she's talking about Madeir's family members like she knows them. And she's like, do I know you?
Yeah. So that's when Mel, the youngest daughter, says, this is Sandy, Claude's wife.
Mel kind of stands up for Sandy.
She does.
And really kind of takes her aside and like looks out for her.
Yeah.
Sandy opens up to Mel in another scene, and it's an endearing scene.
It is. So this is the reveal scene to the whole family that Sandy is Claude's wife. Mm-hmm. Kelly says this isn't funny because Lisa's over here pouring up a drink, strong drink, no mixer, because she's dealing with a cheating husband. So she's just like, I'm gonna drown in my sorrows while this is happening to somebody else and not me for once.
Yep.
The focus is taken off of me. So Lisa's pouring up this strong drink. Kelly looks over because Lisa's kind of chuckling in the background and says, Lisa, this isn't funny. And Lisa says, no, it's not, but I'm gonna keep drinking till it is.
Oh, yeah, that's a good line. That's a good line.
It's a great line.
So guys, this Christmas, really fun movie.
Hopefully it's something that, because you say you haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure most of our listeners haven't, so hopefully listening to us talk about it, we'll highlight it. And like I said, it's on Netflix, so go stream it.
It's on Netflix right now. It's a really good movie. Like, I enjoyed it. I probably will watch it again. I don't think I'll make this a traditional.
Yeah, it won't be every year.
Yeah.
But it's something I'll revisit often for sure.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys.
Later.